Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wattsburg Area School District, where we are student-centered and future-focused for a world-class education. The March 20, 2023 regular board meeting is now called to order. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we please have a roll call?
Mrs. Burlington.
Here.
Mrs. Farrell.
Here.
Mrs. Hetherington.
Here.
Mrs. Lee.
Here.
Mr. Matson. Mr. Morvay.
Here.
Mrs. Powell.
Here.
Dr. Kuschak.
Here.
Mr. Blazer.
Present. Thank you. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda and the addendum.
So moved, Kuschak.
Nicole, second.
Any discussion or revision to tonight's agenda or addendum? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The agenda and addendum are approved. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the February 20, 2023 regular board meeting and the March 13, 2023 work session.
Morvay, so moved.
Pound, second.
Any discussion or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. The minutes are approved. The chair recognizes Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Ken Berlin, for school reports.
Thanks, Mr. President. Mrs. Pebbles is here today and has some middle school students, and we'll talk a little bit about a program that's happening there.
Thank you for having us today. We have a mentoring program with students from Penn State Behrend. Mr. Paris and Ms. Pyle, our guidance counselors, set this up, and we contacted the 6th grade teachers, asked them for some recommendations on students who could be mentors, leaders in that grade level, and to be able to work with our Penn State students as they came out and just work them through different activities on leadership. I will introduce our two from Penn State who are here that are going to talk a little bit more about the program, Andrea Carnes and Robert Sanford.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, so we represent Susan Hurd-Hagen-Klor and the Mentor Project. And so we want to just start out today with some conversation starters. So some people have cards, we have cards. This is something we do use with our 5th and 6th graders. So if you want to turn to a partner and ask your question and answer, take a minute to do that.
While we do that, there will be a couple slides flipping through there of pictures. Some of them where we're doing activities similar to this, and some of them where we're doing physical activities, playing games. And we'll describe more after a moment. So I'll give you about between 30 and 70 seconds to do that.
Same thing.
Well, they're not there. Mine is rather bright. Library. The other two.
I love it.
That's the Oregon.
Okay, so thank you all for participating. Appreciate that.
As you could see in some of those pictures, some of them are us in your schools, and some of them include us practicing these activities. Even things like this card game, things like the physical games we do, the discussions we have, we practice. We've done mentor training, and we are equipped to come into these schools and serve these kids, and it is our privilege. Thank you very much. Before we get into it, I wanted to invite Carter, someone who participates in this program with us, to talk about his experience in the activities and with the program. Thank you for offering.
I would say it's something that I learned from this is like how you need teamwork, because it's some of the physical games. For example, there was a game where you started out with, there was 22 balls and there was 4 teams. Each team had 22 balls in one bucket, and you had to strategize with your team. You had to work it out how you would get, and people could steal the balls from your basket. So you had to strategize how you would steal them and how you also would get them back fast because you can only carry one at a time. It made you work with your teammates and like bond with them and strategize how you would win. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Before we get too far away, I would ask that you would pass your cards all the way to the right so that we can collect them and they'll be out of your way.
He's right.
It's right, right. It's going that way.
Okay, so we're going to talk about adolescence. This is a very transitional time for these 5th and 6th graders, as you all probably know, that they're going through things like puberty and trying to find out who they are. They're trying to find their identity. So, and that can be a very lonely time. There's not always great connections at home or with classmates, but so through the mentorship program, it's not just for the mentors and the mentees. It's also so the mentees feel connected as a class, and that even though the mentors move on after the couple weeks we do spend and make connections with these kids, the mentees still have each other. And like Carter said, they work on their teamwork and they learn to trust each other and maybe meet someone they don't usually interact with.
In this time of change, the adolescents are facing brand new challenges, especially the children that we get to mentor today. The most unique is COVID. I mean, no other group of students has experienced this the same way that these students have. And when loneliness is already so prevalent in this age group, it is very important that we continue to provide these services. And I just want to commend you and thank you for you allowing us to come into these schools and for allowing us to speak to the kids and to build these relationships. Especially for COVID, it changed the social landscape. Many of them didn't have the opportunities to be involved in programs the same way that you may have or I did. Also, these kids get to have a different relationship with technology. Many or most of you didn't have any kind of cell phone until high school, college, or even later. But for kids today, this is a new challenge, and it complicates the way that they figure out how to work and find their purpose in the world. We have a study listed there, and it showed and proved that increased technology usage is detrimental to the psychological development of children. And so we need to implement efforts to reduce the negative impacts of that. It reduces their curiosity, it reduces their ability to control their emotions, it reduces their ability to focus on tasks, just to name a few. The last thing we have there, certainly the most important. A recent study, as of February, they published this year, and it's no surprise given all of the things that have happened that affect especially the relationships of our youth, increases in anxiety, depression, and suicide. It was 21% of males experience hopelessness and fear persistently, and as much as 57% of females. And this is teen girls, so this is the age group that we're having the opportunity to impact. And so it is absolutely crucial that we continue to support and encourage the kids at this time. And you might wonder, what can we do about it? Is it hopeless? Is it that, now we have this technology, we've changed the social environment, are we unable to do anything? And certainly not. There is hope. Research as old as 2005, but it's totally applicable today, and you'll find it consistent throughout research, is that relationships with adults are important. And that's something that we have the opportunity to do, because like she said, we're not just seeking to build relationships between us and the kids, we're seeking to build relationships between them and their peers, them and their teachers, them and even their parents. We're trying to encourage them and grow them. We get to provide this support, not once the problems arrive, but before they arrive, and that is, in the same study, proven to help the most. And so it is essential that we continue to support, and we thank you for your support thus far in it. And the last thing, just to give you some information about the curriculum, about the lessons that we go through and that we talk about, we are studying in our classes in Psychology 217 and 477 all kinds of positive psychological aids to them. We learn about resilience and growth mindset, and we study these things that we might implement them and teach them to these kids so that they might be more durable against the harsher social environment that they have to navigate throughout this time. And so we thank you for your support. We thank you that you are participating in changing the culture away from the society that they've had to navigate into something that they can hopefully thrive better in. With that, we wanted to open it up to any questions that you have about the Mentor Project, about what we do, and hopefully we can answer those for you.
How long are you with the kids?
So it's a little bit different at each site. I believe at Wattsburg, she is one of our interns at Wattsburg. Is it an hour?
Yeah, it's an hour. It's about an hour at each site. We're there from 2:30 to 3:40. We line them up at 3:40. But and it was a little challenging this year because we were set on Mondays, and it happened that like a spring break fell on a Monday, and the PSSAs fell on a Monday. So I know they do want to change that date. But altogether, it's about 8 to 10 weeks. I think we only got 5 weeks with them this round, though. But I mean, coming back from COVID, we're still trying to build it back up. But I've really enjoyed my time here at Wattsburg.
How do you gather feedback from the kids? Like, how do you know the program is working from their perspective?
So that's a great question. There is research that shows that like short-term interventions don't have the same effect that we would prefer them to have. But having them over 8 weeks, we don't have feedback expressly from these kids, but we have background research which supports that building these relationships, their impact persists regardless of whether or not they take away all of the information that we're giving to them.
I have a question. I just, regardless of whether it's short-term, long-term, we are such a reactive society, so I just get super excited when I hear about all the different proactive things that we are trying to do to prevent these things.
Sure,
So this is phenomenal, and it makes me very excited, and thank you for all the work you're doing, regardless of, whether the barriers you're gonna hit, because we do it, but the thing is we're trying and we're putting forth the effort
Absolutely.
to build those relationships, so thank you. I love it.
Well, thank you.
Thank
It's
you
our
for
pleasure.
having us here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We do have 2 other students with the program that are here. If they would like to say something.
Well, thank you for coming, and thank moms for coming as well.
Thank you guys.
Come on.
Thanks, Mrs. Pebble.
Thank you, appreciate that. The next item on our agenda is guest and citizen comments. We have 2 guests that have signed up to speak to the board today. Each of you will have 3 minutes. Please come forward when I call you and state your name and your municipality in which you reside. I believe first is Danny Carter the second. Is first? Third? Come on up.
I'm Dan Carter the third, Novel Street, 14370. Student, athlete at Seneca. I would like to speak about our extracurricular activities. I feel like certain extracurricular activities such as baseball and softball do not get the amount of attention as some other extracurricular activities. We roughly put $3 grand into materials from our funds to make what we have now as a batting cage. And you guys allegedly want to tear it down and have a professional do it. Although the softball team said they were going to do it, and yet we took matters into our own hands and we started building it. But now I feel like we're being punished for doing that. And as a student athlete, I can't stand to see the hard work of my teammates, my coaches, and I go to waste, let alone the time we took out of our days and time after practices to work on it. And the fact that we asked our AD about the production of this cage getting done, it was just wrong, and not even being able to answer us back when we had tried to contact him multiple times. For instance, we wanted to do a team trip like the softball team, and we had one of our coaches email him back in November, and he didn't get a response for us until months later. And That's pretty much all.
Thank you, Mr. Carter.
Thank you.
Next up, Danny Carter II.
Dan Carter, 14370 Lover Street, Wattsburg, PA, 16442. So I want to commend wherever they went. That sounds like a great program. I know kids learn better from people their own age compared to adults like myself from coaching experiences. We have younger people come in, younger athletes come in. They seem to take more from them than they do from us because, you know, we're older, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I want to touch a little basis on, I mean, storage facility up there is crucial. Like, we definitely need something up there 100% because you're carrying an 80-pound pitching machine. We just bought 2 brand new wheels for the pitching machine that's already 40 years old because it was here when I played. I got my 25-year reunion this year, so it's old, but they were $150 a tire. We had to buy 2 of them. So you can't just drag it up there, like you got to actually carry it. The other thing I'd like to see, I know with track from middle school, they walk across the yard. Not a big deal, but when you see them literally walking in this much water and mud, and they're walking barefoot, because that's the only way from, I mean, I know they can go around and do all that, but when I see these kids walking in temperatures like this, there should be some type of sidewalk out there for them, because there's no reason for them to be walking in mud, in water, in slush, whatever we have in the Erie weather that we have around here. So it'd be awesome to see something like that put into place for them to walk, you know, that's athletes for, you know, not so much him, but the younger ones like Carter when he comes up and everything. So, and then to tail off of that, to get another walkway going to the visitor side dugout, because last year we switched from third base to first base. Again, it's great when you're on the home field side now that we're on first base, because yes, you can go through the complex and get up there. But when you're going to the third base side, you have to walk the hill, and it's weather like this. We have a scheduled home game Friday. So it's not going to dry up that quick. So now you have opposing parents, players walking through that mud, walking through that wet feet, player athletes, student athletes walking through that. Something should be done about that, because you can't always go across the field, because obviously you got games in play, you got practices, you got people throwing, you can't have everybody on the field. So something should be addressed on that. I mean, I know there's a way we can cut around. It's not a straight shot up, but like everything else, we can go around different angles. It sucks walking further, but we'd rather walk further to have dry feet. I hate wet feet. When I had wet feet in service, I hated it. So, but as for the batting cage, I don't know what's going on. It'd be nice to hear some type of feedback on this, because we don't want to keep dumping money into it if you're not. We couldn't get $3,000 to put the new turf down. So we're like, all we had to do is run the cables and put the net up. So it'd be nice to hear something back from whether it's the athletic director, superintendent, principals, whoever I got to hear from. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. The chair recognizes Dr. Ken Berlin for the superintendent's report.
Thanks, Mr. President. Just 3 quick items. I want to welcome a guest tonight. Attorney Pat Kennedy is with us. She's a new addition, relatively new to the Knox Law Firm, but not new to law in Erie, to be sure. She works in the government division at Knox, and she's already done some work for the district in terms of helping us get a school police officer appointed. So you may see her around and attending some of our meetings occasionally, so I just wanted to extend a welcome to her. Budget season is closing in on us, so next month we'll have a finance committee meeting before the work session, and we'll put out some initial numbers to show you where we think we're at and what is probably needed to balance the budget. But at this point, the budget looks better than it's looked in a long time. Actually, since I've been here as superintendent. So there's some good news there that I wanted to share. And then as far as location of our board meeting next month on April 17th, we're going to relocate to the grade 1 and 2 gathering area like we have at times before, and that's simply because the elementary music will be set up here to run on Tuesday and Wednesday of that week, on the 18th and 19th, so the stage will be full with their materials. So that's all I have for tonight, Mr. President.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board for Dr. Brilliant? Hearing none, I thank you for your report. The chair recognizes Ms. Vicki Bendig for the business administrator report.
Thank you, Mr. President. For tonight, the treasurer's reports, general fund as of February 28th, $12,087,094.91. And I have the budget versus actual report for as of 2/28/23. Again, we're 67% of the fiscal year in, and overall in revenues, we've received 69.33%. The federal funds are coming in slowly, but we haven't gotten anything since the last time that they paid us, which was in December. So those filings will be going in at the end of this quarter, and hopefully we'll get caught up then. And then moving on to expenses, again, 67% of the fiscal year. Some categories are 80 or 90%, but a lot of that has to do with those expenditures for supplies at the beginning of the year. So we're not too far behind on those yet. And overall for the year, 53.69% of budgeted expenditures. So that's a good thing too. Capital projects as of the end of February, there's $491,950.20 in that account. And the cafeteria as of the end of February, $606,750.95. And the cafeteria profit and loss report for the month of February, we had $102,000 in income. We had $127,000 in expenses, but you'll notice that there was a $49,000 equipment replacement that happened this month. So kitchens are up and going, and they're excited to have new equipment. So that was a good, hopefully it'll help out at the high school for their offerings as well. Total expense or net loss for the month, $25,241.61, which brings our net profit for the year to $8,792.48. Moving on to the bill lists. Exhibit A1, checks written between the last board meeting and the work session, totaling $63,148.66. Checks written between the work session and this evening, $14,355.19. And the general fund bill list for this month for your consideration, $1,112.64. Cafeteria had written $1,436.80 since between the last board meeting and the work session, and between the work session and tonight, totaling $43,770.16, which we paid early through ACH to get a discount on our nutrition group bill. And then cafeteria bills for this evening for your consideration, $236. The Seneca High School Activity Fund and Exhibit D, as of the end of February, there are $93,387.34 in that account, in those accounts. And that is all I have for this evening.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve the reports, payments, and invoices as presented.
So moved, Amanda. Second, Heatherington.
Thank you. Any further discussion or questions? I just had a question. Could you remind us the $49,000 piece of equipment that you had mentioned? And
I knew you were going to ask that.
I feel like we approved it. Was that the pizza oven or
Combi oven?
combi oven or something like that? I'm just curious.
I was thinking it was the pizza oven, but then I was thinking it also might be the dishwasher. I think the dishwasher was more expensive than anything else.
Yeah, I believe it was the dishwasher that started leaking.
Yes. So, I'm looking it up though.
All right. I'm just curious. Yes, both are necessities. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. There are no items on the agenda under legal advisement tonight. Chair recognizes Mr. Stephen Morvay for finance.
Mr. President, there are 3 items under finance this evening. The first item is item F1, which is a motion to approve the following budgetary transfer from the budget to actual report as outlined in Exhibit E, as well as the $126,100 from the committed fund for the Nora flooring for the committed fund for the Target flooring in the cafeteria. So moved.
Nicole second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or questions on F1? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Next item is item F2, which is the Northwest Tri-County Intermediate Unit budget for the Northwest Tri-County Intermediate for 23-24 school year. The motion is to approve that general operating budget for 23-24 school year in the amount of $66,989,275 and to further approve our Wattsburg Area School District's contribution to the improvement services budget's intermediate unit in the amount of $31,300 and $239,230 to the Special Education Services Fund. So moved. Second, push check.
Thank you. Is there any question or discussion on F2? Hearing none, may we please have a roll call?
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mrs. Powell? Yes. Dr. Bushcheck?
Yes.
Mrs. Burlington?
Yes.
Mrs. Farrell?
Yes.
Mrs. Heatherington? Yes. Mrs. Lee?
Yes.
Mr. Blazer?
Yes. Motion carries.
The next item is item F3, which is the LEAF equipment lease schedule and finance agreement. The motion is to approve the equipment lease schedule and finance agreement with LEAF Capital for staff laptops with delivery and first payment after July 1st, as outlined in Exhibit F. So moved.
Second, Burlingham.
Thank you. Is there any question or discussion on F3?
I had a question, Mr. President.
Mrs. Farrell.
Is this a different group than what the student laptops went through?
It is the same place. We purchased the student laptops from the same place, but are they financed at the same place too? They are.
So it's just a separate agreement?
Yes, because they're on a 3-year rotation. We did student laptops last year, it'll be teacher staff laptops this year, it'll be another section of student laptops next year, and then it starts over.
Got it, okay.
Hearing no other question, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
That's it for finance, Mr. President, this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Morvay. For building and grounds, Mrs. Leah Heatherington.
Thank you, Mr. President, and without objection, I'd like to move item B1, the WAC and Seneca High School cafeteria flooring, and 2 items on the addendum, B2, the WAC classroom space lease, and B3, the high school auditorium sound and lighting upgrade project. So moved.
Nicole second.
Thank you. Is there any question or discussion on items B1 through 3? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Mrs. Heatherington. The chair recognizes Ms. Nicole Lee for personnel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 6 items for tonight, and without objection, I would like to move all 6 in one motion. They include P1, substitute additions as listed, P2, service personnel substitute list as listed, P3, resignations as listed, P4, leave requests as listed, P5, kindergarten boot camp as listed, and P6, conference requests, with special note to the addendum for any additions. So moved.
Second, push check.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or questions on the items under personnel? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's carried. Thank you, Ms. Lee.
Thank you.
The chair recognizes Ms. Amanda Farrell for policy.
I have no items this evening under policy, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Farrell. Chair recognizes Dr. Andy Kushak for curriculum.
Thank you, Mr. President. Similarly, without objection, I would like to move all 7 items under curriculum. C1, dual credit affiliation agreement, Mercyhurst University. C2, same agreement with Penn State University. C3, similar agreement with Penn West University. C4 is integrated science course at Seneca. C5 is the science sequence at Seneca. On your addendum is C6, dual credit affiliation agreement with Gannett University. And C7 is the Robert Morris updated appendices. Those 7 items in one motion, so moved.
Morvay, second.
Thank you. Is there any question or discussion on the 7 items under curriculum?
I was just gonna ask, has there been any more thought to having anything as far as a Q&A or FAQ for parents and caregivers?
Yeah, the high school's working on that. In fact, we were talking about it today, this morning, so there will be some information coming.
Great.
Great, thank you. Hearing no other questions, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's carried.
That's all I have under curriculum, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Pushek. The chair recognizes Ms. Leah Hetherington for technology.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do not have anything under technology tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Hetherington. Chair recognizes Ms. Brittany Burlingham for transportation.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 2 items on the agenda tonight and then a third on the addendum. T1, transportation request to approve the transportation request and ratification of field trips since last meeting as outlined in Exhibit M. T2 is transportation agreement to approve a parent transportation agreement effective February 17th, 2023 for the 2022-23 school year at the current IRS rate of 65.5 cents a mile. And then on the addendum, transportation T3, the robotics competition. Lego League robotics team, grades 7 to 8, to compete in the American Robotics Open Championship Invitational Competition at the Liberty Science Center, Jersey City, New Jersey, on May 12th through the 14th at the estimated cost of $3,500. So moved.
Second, Hetherington.
Thank you. Is there any question or discussion on the 3 items under transportation? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Burlingham.
That is all I have. Yep.
The chair recognizes Ms. Tara Pound for athletic and extracurricular.
Thank you. I have 2 items on the agenda, and just in addition to A1, volunteer list on the addendum, move both of those at the same time. So AE1, the volunteer list, and AE2, the coaching appointments. So move.
Second, Pushek.
Thank you. Is there any questions or discussions on the 2 items under athletic extracurricular? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion's carried. Thank you, Ms. Powell. There are 2 items under miscellaneous tonight, one on the agenda, one on the addendum. M1 is the Bethesda agreement. Approve the agreement for the alternative education for disruptive youth between Bethesda Lutheran Services and the Wattsburg Area School District for the 2023-24 school year as outlined in Exhibit N. And M2, surplus items to declare surplus items in attachment 5.
Morvay, so moved.
Nicole, second.
Thank you. Is there any question or discussion on those 2 items?
I just have one thing.
Mrs. Powell.
There's a typo in M1 on the agenda. It should say 2023-2024
Good catch.
school year.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Those motions carry. For the Erie County Technical School report, Mr. Morvay.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the report of the February board meeting of the Erie County Technical School. Our next board meeting is scheduled for this Thursday for March. We did have 2 Wattsburg area school districts that achieved January Students of the Month. One was Mallory Campbell. She's in the Art and Design program. The other one is Avaniva Shumack in the Hospitality program. So I'll get those reports to you, Debbie, and you can post them as well. We also reviewed every year there's an annual review of the programs. It's a required policy of the tech school. None of the programs are currently at risk, and that is defined by less than 40% participation. So every program that is offered is certainly well above that. As well as much above that is the cosmetology program. Many years there is a waiting list. If you recall, the students choose their first choice as they go into the program. And many years that first choice is filled up such that the kids then have to be bumped down and then potentially get back into the program at a later date. 48 is the standard class size, and again, that's spread out over AM and PM teaching days. And as well, so what's there's a proposal, not a proposal, there's an investigation that the directors are looking into, is potentially doing some additional renovation in the facility now to increase class space so that there could be basically 2 cosmetology programs, allowing that would double the class size to 98, 96. There would be some additional cost, obviously, with the renovation that would be necessary. $625,000. I believe, Dr. Berlin, this was presented at the superintendent's meeting.
Yes.
So this was brought up as a thought process at this point. And so there was, that is kind of on the table. It hasn't come forward as a motion yet, but this would be something that would be then brought about into the 24-25 school year. So the renovations would not occur until the end of the current renovations would finish. Such that the reason being, the contractors need to finish what they have on their plate now, and then go into the renovation of the other spaces. They're already spread fairly thin, and so that was the reason why this would be pushed into the following school calendar year if it does becomes approved. There was a little bit of a pushback by the instructors. The union rep brought up a little things that they were a little surprised that this was on the table. They thought maybe some other things might be brought up as well, meaning additional classes that maybe have the higher participation rate as well. But the discussion came about that because cosmetology is always in demand, that would be the program first that would be get the additional space. As well as they had a little bit of a disappointment in that there'd be continual to have more renovation on top of the renovation that they already have. So they're doing well with the jockeying the space around that they are, but they looked at that and said, there's more, and so they just wanted to address those concerns as well in front of the board. We also approved there was an elevator upgrade at the Skill Center. That was a project that was approved as well, and we also approved the new executive director. If you remember, Joe Tarasovich is retiring at the end of this calendar year, or school year, excuse me. And so we now have hired a new director beginning roughly around May 1st. His name's Lat Laverty. He comes out of the Oil City department, or out of the IU6 Oil City area. And his wife has moved up here to do her position, her job. So he would be moving up as well. Seems like a very dynamic person, very much in tune with kids as well as the technical school world. So I think he's going to be a very positive addition to the technical school. So those are the items that were done in the board, as well as in general on the renovation itself. If you recall, there was the focus of trying to get the two major areas done over the school year such that they can move forward into the fall. Those seem to be on track, and then the other areas would then follow in. And if you recall, it looks like it's still going to be at the end of the calendar year before everything is completed inside the renovation spaces. Financially wise, on the project, it seems to be going well. There may be a potential, I didn't write that down, it's in pencil, that there may be some contingency money left over, which may be a position why this renovation for the cosmetology may happen. So it remains to be seen, but it's trending in the positive direction financially for the renovation of the technical school.
Thank you, Mr. Morby. Are there any questions?
I have a question
Mrs. Pound?
about that. So if the cosmetology department is on a waiting list every single year, why are they just now bringing this up as a additional renovation and cost coming into next year? They knew it was a
I think I think the question again, it was a function of one. Currently, now you have the chance to do the renovation. You have contractors in place. You have all of those ducks in a row, as well as financially, they wanted to make sure that it was going to be feasible, such that they wouldn't have to come back to the districts and ask for additional money to make this work.
They're not going to ask for additional money because it was 600 and some thousand, you said.
Again,
Additional.
but currently within the contingency that remains, that umbrella may be able to cover.
I see.
Yeah, and I can add an additional point from when I was on the board. During the COVID years, enrollment did go down. So at that point, there wasn't any room to talk about additional programs because we didn't know what was going to happen with COVID. But in the prior years to that, like what Mr. Morby said, it was a highly sought after program. But with the COVID years, it wasn't brought up for 2 or 3 years because of that reason.
Okay.
Thanks.
Ms. Hetherington?
2 questions. You said that there are other programs that are also on wait lists like that. Is there any desire for them to also expand?
Not currently not to the level that cosmetology is.
Okay, and then my
The
second.
other programs that I should have maybe misspoke, that there were potential, thoughts of maybe introducing other programs. One of them was brought up was veterinary science. Another one was a health assistant program. So, I mean, there was thoughts, this was by the staff, could that space be reconfigured to offer a brand new program? So that was another thought that was being kicked around.
Okay, and then my next question is, will another room be able to be filled?
Yes. Yeah.
Totally.
Given,
We can double-
given, right,
We can
that is
double the
correct.
amount of
Yeah,
students.
correct.
Yeah, there's extra space that was built into the renovation that would be used by.
Well, I mean, like.
Oh, the students?
Yeah, like enrollment.
Yeah,
Oh,
There are enough
yeah,
students on
absolutely,
wait lists
yeah,
to fill that room
absolutely
fully.
right. That
Yeah,
is correct.
historically, the I mean, it's been a philosophical debate, even though the interest has been there for a long time with the COVID dip, should we go down that route? And the former tech school director, Dr. Jackson, was always, he leaned against that because he didn't feel cosmetology was high enough in demand when you looked at the national statistics of careers.
Has that changed, or the new director says different?
Well, the demand keeps going up, and in our area, if you set aside, the national trends, there are so many students from the tech school that end up with their own shops and working in cosmetology. So I think that is really what tipped the scale along, and Mr. Morvay had said, okay, we actually could do it. The student interest is there. We're renovating. We do have the funds to seriously consider it this time. So I think all those things kind of lined up for it to be looked at.
And I think that just to camp on, I think the current director, Joe Tarasovich, he's been very much trying to solve the students' interest conundrum that they're under. In other words, serving the student population and their interests, such that because of the interests are so high, we are somewhat doing a disservice by not providing the programs that they are interested in. And so that was part of the other thought process within that philosophical debate on how do we serve our student population as well as we possibly can.
Mr. President,
Dr. Pushek.
I think it would be wonderful if we could do it within the current confines of the building and the budget. I have no appetite for the VOTEC to come back to the districts again for more money. We went through this long enough. If they can do it, fine. If not, poor planning on their part.
To that point, am I remembering correctly that when we agreed to the new formula, so to speak, or I guess, didn't we change the formula going
Correct.
forward? So if we had to go back and get more money, it would not be split in the way we did this renovation.
That's correct. That's correct.
I completely agree.
But if
Any
you
other-
also, as a part of that reformulation was also the creation then of a capital projects fund, which was not included previously on any of the other budgets or administration setups. So even if this gets tabled a year or two, that would allow that fund to continue to build as their fund balance would grow. And to Dr. Pushek's point, this would have to be a unanimous 11 district approval if there is something that would have to come back for additional funds. But again, we're not to that point yet. It's again kind of a study based upon student population and their interests at this point. Right now it seems, to Dr. Berlin's point, it seems possible. So,
All right, thank you, Mr. Moore.
that's all I have, Mr. President. Thank you.
Appreciate it. For Northwest Intermediate Unit Report, Dr. Pushek.
I want to thank the board for considering approving the IU budget. It was unanimously passed. All of the school districts, we need a certain number of yes votes. That's why we did a roll call, because they go down by the number of votes. So those will all be tallied, then we will send those in. Beyond that, yes, our next meeting is on Wednesday, so I will have a more robust report for our April meeting. That's all, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pushcheck. That brings us to board correspondence and dialogue. Anything from the board this evening?
Mr. President, I think I saw, and I'm going to get this wrong, but I did see that our football coach was honored as Coach of the Year, and I don't recall the acronym of what but I think that should be recognized in our board meeting this evening.
I agree. So I'd like to point out that we did approve it, the robotics championships, and that's great that our robotics, Lego Robotics, do I have that right? Team qualified. So thank you to the board for approving that trip, and I think it's great that we're participating in that. Hearing nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Pushcheck.
Amanda, second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned.